Okay, so we've got the aristocrats and we've got the folk. The folk are just a useless horde without the aristocrats, and the aristocrats are just snooty baronets without the folk. So, how do we bridge the gap? Because they can fucking hate each other. The folk look at the aristocrats like, you stupid, educated, overeducated twats. You think you're something, fucking get a shovel, you're nothing. You know, who are you? Why are you leading us? We'll fucking kill you. You know, is the folk attitude. And, you know, I understand the folk attitude. And the aristocrat attitude is, you stupid fucks. You know, you're going nowhere without us. And they're both dead right. So how do we bridge the gap between the folk and the aristocrats?
I've got the answer, man. I've got the answer. It's the church. I'll tell you why. When you go back to the old feudal system of the king owning all the land, his lords holding parts of his land, and then the lord's knights holding other parts of the land, and then the knight, he'd have his castle, he'd have a village a little bit down from the castle, maybe within the castle, and of course there'd be a church in the village. Now, the church only had the priest, the one priest, and he would be this it would be the same priest for the lord that it would be for the the guy that had to clean the latrine pits, just to clear out the poo from the castle or something. So within the feudal pyramid you had another hierarchical system, which was the church, but the difference was that it was everyone was anointed by God from the church. It wasn't well, and it's all the offspring, the firstborns of the king that get to inherit the throne. But you have the parallel church system, which is appointed by God, but any member of the nation can join the priesthood. So there isn't the same kind of, you are born into this position, you will stay this position. There is a sort of element of social mobility in the church, if you join the church, but it's not social mobility because you're in the church. It's almost a different community. And of course, that's back in a time when the Bible, it hasn't been translated into the languages of the various European peoples. It's still only in Latin. So you rely on the priest in those communities, the Lord as much as the peasant, to to be closer to God. And I think that reined in or bridged the gap between the disparity between peasant and feudal lord. I'm going to give you some Crusades history. You'll love this. But Pope Urban II calls the Crusades, and all the lords of the medieval world are very excited, and it's mainly German and French lords and a few Italian lords in the First Crusade. No English lords go on that crusade, but they're very excited because we can go off to the foreign land, conquer the land, and then I can become king in this new land. So they had this idea of, we this is a great opportunity to leave Europe and get new land and become rich and, create a huge legacy. And that's cool. So you've got Raymond, you've got Bermond, you've got all of these amazing figures, whether it's the French noble, the English noble, congregating. But my favorite character from the First Crusade is Peter the Hermit, who is a priest who goes around after Pope Urban calls for the crusade. He goes around to the normal people and whips them up. He whips up the masses, and they estimated that the army, the Crusader army, was only something like 25,000 men of arms. but they had something like 100,000 civilians, followers, all camp followers, 100,000. So it was always a whole city following the army. And there's this amazing bit at the siege of Antioch where the Crusaders capture the city of Antioch, but they're starving, and then they are besieged by the Muslims. And there is a rumor that the spear that pierced Christ on the cross is buried in the city of Antioch. So Peter the Hermit, and no, sorry, Peter the Hermit has a vision, and he says that God told me that the spear that pierced Christ is buried under the castle in the Antioch. So he gets everyone to dig into it, and Raymond, in one of his letters, doubts the story. He said, "Yeah, that's a load of bullshit." But he said it motivated the Crusaders to find fighting spirit, and when they're in the pit digging, Peter the Hermit sort of jumps in and he digs around and goes, "I found the spear point. This is a sign from God. We will win. We will prevail through the starvation." And they go on to win win Jerusalem, win the crusade, conquer the Holy Land. But when you look into the history, you know, they were on the brink of starvation at every single point. And it was this guy, this Peter the Hermit character, who was able to sort of rouse the actual spirit of God, because everyone else was a kind of an opportunist. But he was able to like actually bridge the gap between the poor people who were seeing the better life and thinking, if I go to the Holy Land, help God conquer the Holy Land, bring Christ back, then maybe I can live a good life in the Holy Land. The nobles are going, I want more land. I want to become king in a new country. I want to leave France and become king. And then you got Peter the Hermit, who's just like, no, this is God's work. And it's just like, so I think the missing elements to the aristocracy and the folk is the priest. Because you've got the warrior, you've got the craftsman, and you've got the priest. The warrior is the leader. He is the one that rules because he has force, he has arms. The craftsman is the one that has to make the weapons for him and has to make everything for him. But that could be a relationship of subjugation and dominance. But it's the priest that says to them both, no, 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 no. There is a power higher than you, and you are only collaborating for the real ultimate truth and the ultimate purpose. So you need those three to, I think, or it's the priest that unites them and, puts the perspective on why the craftsman is the craftsman and why the warrior is the warrior.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there, because the aristocrats exist, the folk exist, but the religious leaders are somewhat absent right now.
Yeah.
And so if we look at what is necessary to spark and fuel the fire, you hit the nail on the head. It's the church.